His music from Jon Batiste and Stay Human. Jon Batiste is the perfect musician for these times. And if you haven't heard what Jon has been up to lately, you haven't been paying attention. From Louisiana and a rich family musical dynasty, Jon has made his musical mission about connection and celebration, whether it's leading his Stay Human band on The Late Show, recording with his group at the Village Vanguard, or co-composing the music to the smash hit Disney film Soul, or about to release a brand new solo album, We Are. Jon has taken his music, artistry, and activism directly into the 21st century. And Jon, it is a delight to speak with you. How are you?
Oh man, I'm blessed. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm terrific. Jon, I don't know if you remember, but your band was here back in 2014 in our
I
place.
do remember. I remember, and it was one of the best experiences that I've had because that was a special tour for us. So thank you so much for welcoming us in that time. It was really, really special.
And for us too. I want to start before we talk about the new album. I know your weekend was pretty cool. As I was reading the New York Times, you were out doing something called New York Pops Up, NY Pops Up, and it looked like you were all over the streets, bringing music back to the streets of New York City during this difficult time. Can you tell me about your experience on the weekend?
Wow. It's really just it's a pilot program that's really about bringing the arts industry back safely and responsibly. And Governor Cuomo called me to launch it and be on the board among many great artists, esteemed artists in New York to really figure out a way to do this. And we play for the essential workers at vaccination sites, and we play for people on the street. And we did what we call, a love riot. For many people who follow me for years, they know that I do these things where I march and I perform. It's a processional that is meant to bring love, joy, and community to people wherever they are. And this is the time that I really feel that this concept of the love riot, it was made for it, and that's what I did this weekend. I was the first time I actually performed live in front of an audience in a year, and this is a good reason to break that fasting of performance.
How has that drought been away from people? Has it affected you more than you thought?
I think it's made me be more appreciative of the gift and the privilege of playing for people and gathering. Gathering is something that we've done since the beginning of time, and music has always been the way that it has put us together in that same space, whether we're worshiping, whether it's ritual music, whether it's music to celebrate, whether it's in New Orleans, we have music when someone passes away to the next realm. There's always music that's a part of that kind of social fabric. And I find that my concept of social music is really about bringing that back to the modern world, and these are opportunities to do so. So I'm always going to be there for that.
You said this, so the new album is called We Are. It'll be out on March 19th on Verve Records. You said, I'm publicly known for some things already, but there's so much more to know about me. It's always been there, but now it's time to show the world my full artistry. Can you flesh out what that means? Because in some ways it feels like you have shown us so much stuff already.
It's a special thing when you listen to an artist's catalog, and if you go back and listen to some of the influences that I really love. I think about Thelonious Monk, even just jazz musicians. Let's take jazz, for instance. Miles Davis, Kind of Blue was, he was 33, 34. A Love Supreme, John Coltrane, same things, 34, 35. Something about a coming of age of a person, even the age 33, when I'm making this We Are album, it's something about that time that makes you who you are. You solidified in who you are. Something becomes whole as an artist. I find that, beyond popularity, beyond success, beyond any of those accolades that have come for people much earlier in life, there's something that happens to your concept and your vision once you reach a certain point. And I think 33 is a good median age. Some people reach that earlier, some people later. But I think that's what I mean when I say that there's so much that this is almost just the beginning of unfolding, because the time leading up to this is just a cumulative development of me figuring out where the starting point is.
So it's almost like chapter 2.
Right, right, exactly right. We're getting somewhere now.
I looked at the guest list on the new album. Quincy Jones, Mavis Staples, Trombone Shorty. Your dad and your granddad are on it. Was it almost was the buffet so full that you could just sort of choose anyone, and you had to sort of pull back from the options you had, or were these things very targeted? Like, I know exactly who that person should be on this thing.
You nailed it. It was every track had a very specific intention with the guesting. There were no features just for the sake of features. You know, nobody on the album, you know, whether it's a big name or not, was there because they were a big name. And every single person on this record, I could tell you a story that is significant to my own personal development. You talk about that development into becoming who you are and starting to express yourself fully. Each of these people that are featured on the album had a role in reaching me at a key moment to help me to develop into who I am today.
Was that part of paying it back and sort of putting a tent pole in on this part of your life?
It's a part of this new phase of my life beyond just music. It's not really a part of any marketing campaign or anything. It's just something that I think will impact people the most when they listen to this music, when they hear it. If your heart is open to it and your mind is open to it and your spirit is open to it, listening to this album will be like reading a great novel or watching a movie, and you don't skip chapters, you just absorb it, and it will make you full of hopefully inspiration, hopefully of a feeling of joy and a feeling of not being alone.
You know, on Soul, I loved you hearing you talk about that you had no concern about presenting jazz to a young generation in soul because this music is so alive and vibrant that for you, why wouldn't young people love this music? And it didn't seem like you had to sell it to anyone higher up to say, why wouldn't jazz be the focal point of what we're doing right now?
I love that this team at Pixar was so collaborative and working on the music for soul, and being a part of that team was one of the great highlights of my creative life, because it showed me that it's possible, that it can happen where you can work with people on the highest level of production and industry and still have values that are rooted in the real thing. That the real thing can come through in that environment, which I, to be honest, have been skeptical of for many years. I've been avoidant of, you know, for many years of signing record deals, of being a part of these sort of things, because I think that the commodification of music and the industry of music and the entertainment industry in general can be detrimental to the artist and the art. But this was something of a beacon. And I find that when you reach that authenticity in something, you don't have to sell it. It helps to market it, of course, all that stuff, but it's really just about sharing your enthusiasm and your excitement for the real thing that is there. And that's what moved people about this film. That's why all over the world, people have still just been so moved by it, because it's the real thing.
I wonder, after that great experience you had, if you've been spoiled for other things that will come after this, because it sounds like it couldn't have been a better creative experience.
Oh man, I really think about that a lot. It almost has just raised my standards completely about collaborations and everything like that. I really do find it to be a wow. It was such a special thing to work with them that I don't even know if I can go back.
You're with Jazz FM 91. I'm speaking with Jon Batiste, whose new album is called We Are and will be out on March 19th. One more before we get you out of here, Jon. You appear to be a relentless optimist, at least from the outside. Has that been challenged over these last few years? And how optimistic are you now as we move forward?
Well, I think that my optimism is a spiritual practice that's rooted in the belief that we're all divine beings with something unique and special to offer the world. And if that's the truth, then no matter what we're facing, we always have a way of coming back out of it if we just go back to our divine nature rather than the other aspects of our nature, because both are true at the same time. Everything is true all the time, and that's what makes me optimistic. Everything is happening in the world all the time, everywhere. And that's what makes me optimistic, being realistic about that.
I'm going to hang on to that. Jon, I want to play Cry as we get out of here. Tell me about this tune. This is one of the tunes. I think your dad is on this tune.
Yep.
Tell me about this particular tune from the new album, We Are.
Well, to me, you know, working with my dad is incredible. One of the best bass players in the world. Just the pocket that he has and the depth and the gravitas of his playing, you know, in this song, it matches so perfectly. It just feels like there's this tradition, this history of Black farm families and Black farm music, and that kind of sharecropper blues folk song that we don't necessarily associate with folk music in Americana anymore these days. I kind of just wanted to reclaim that and put my family lineage, which if you go back before the musicians in my family, there's 4 generations of farmers in Georgia. So that was for me a way of putting that stamp on my musical output of my lineage and all the reclaiming of folk and Americana from the other strain of where it comes from that's oftentimes forgotten.
We'll listen to it right now. Jon, thanks so much for your time today. I hope when things are different, you'll come back and visit us here at the radio station.
Yes, and man, tell my brother Jeff Babco what's happening. I love him.
I think he's listening right now, so hopefully he just heard it. What a treat to be with you, sir. All the best moving forward, and congratulations on the album. We Are March 19th. All the best, Jon.
Later on. Ooh.